So now that brings us to the questions that you guys sent to us. For those of you watching, listening, if you guys want to ask us a question, make sure to click the link in the description, fill out our form with your name, Mets-related question, and it could be featured on the next episode of the Mets Weekly Podcast. So we talked about guys we could trade for. We talked about guys that we could sign. Land of Mets is asking free agents that the Mets should avoid this offseason. So guys you don't want to touch with a 10-foot stripper pole. I guess that's the reference we're using now.
Yeah, I got the guy around the top of my head. I talked to him earlier in the episode. I saw, again, with all these Twitter rumors, all these weird accounts, you never know what's real or not, but there are a couple people I've seen that do like the idea of the Mets getting Justin Turner, and I'm against it. We've talked about it so many times. Say no to these guys who are above 38. I just don't understand it. I mean, the guy, he's bound to just totally fall off any year now. It's bound, his back, like, it's bound to happen. And what would you know that the Mets got rid of Justin Turner and he becomes good? Wouldn't it be so typical if Justin Turner came back to the Mets and then became bad again? Like, I mean, come on now. It's like it's such a trap that they've fallen for so many times in the past that I'm just like, no. I'd rather have Mauricio get a shot than bring in Justin Turner. So he, for me, is a big time avoid because I think it's an overpay, and I'm just done with getting these guys at that age. It's just when does it work for this team? It never works. So that's one I'm really against. I've seen a couple people talk about it, and I'm like, absolutely not.
I think the connection there, Justin Turner, is because I think Stearns almost traded for him. I'm pretty sure was it the last deadline or the deadline before?
It might have been 2021, I think. Right? Like that last year before that, when he was a Dodger, where like he was a free agent and they like listened to offers.
Yeah, I understand the connection there because he almost traded for him. But if you're gonna bring in a veteran infielder, I've already said Gio Urshela is just a better option there. He's just younger. He has more to prove because he's been hurt. And, somebody that can, push the prospects out of there if they don't perform in spring training or the beginning of the season. I'm going to put out another name here, and that being Cody Bellinger. We need the corner outfield and everything, but I'm not willing to commit to it. Obviously, there's some health issues there. I just don't like the profile as much as people like it. Obviously, he had the resurgence and whatever, but I'm just not willing to commit long-term to an outfielder like that who's had the ups and downs at his very, very best and his very, very worst. I get it. He's a 20 to 30 home run bat pretty much every single season, but I just don't think that that's the ideal guy to go after in the corner outfield. I understand he's young. I don't know. I'm just drawn away from it. I feel like he's going to be asking for that 7-year, 8-year deal. And I'm just not willing to do that yet. Those long-term deals, I'm giving it to a star that we could possibly bring in here through a trade, that being, somebody like Juan Soto, maybe even somebody like Santander, give him a 5-year, 6-year deal or whatever, something like that, but not Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, Belly would have been mine because we have our center fielder, and like his value is defensively is for a center fielder. If Brandon Nimmo's not here, I think we have a discussion about it. I said it last year when he was a free agent. Like, if it's not Nimmo, I wanted Belly on the 1-year deal than Kiermaier because, again, you pencil in great defense and 20 homers. So, again, that's my stay away. I am terrified of Aaron Nola. I know a lot of people saying, oh, if you give him you give him better defense, you get him out of a small. I have seen the Mets light him up so many times, but also he has, again, starts. There's just something about Aaron Nola, and especially if it's going to be a 7-year time, let's call it $27 million a year. Like, he's just a guy. I get it. He's probably the 3rd best pitcher on the market. There's just something about Nola that's like, he could be he could be an elite guy somewhere else. The Mets aren't that fit. If it's going to maybe St. Louis or going to a smaller market, maybe. I just think, again, especially how much history we've had, positive more likely than negative, against him. It's just something about it. I'm like, and you can see all the peripherals of like, oh, if you give him a better defense, he'll have better, his FIP's always better than his ERA. I get it. There's just something with him that I just was like, same thing with Snell. Like, again, the top end of this market, I've made it my new saying, you don't pay mediocre players elite money. And I don't think, I guess Snell's going to win Cy Young. Don't get me wrong. He had a good year. But again, I'm not giving long-term money to these two type guys. And these guys are probably going to get 6, 7, 8 years. That I think the Mets need to go that Texas approach. You're just going in that mid-market and just get 4, 5, 6 of those guys.
I think the main thing with Aaron Nola is probably just the mileage. I mean, he's been in the league for a long time. He's young per se. What is he, 29? But he came in the league at what, age 20? I mean, a lot of innings. He gives you the volume. He probably can pitch for a long time or whatever. But it's really hard because we have not seen the Mets give a long-term deal to a pitcher.
Have you ever had Tommy John yet?
Maybe a few years ago.
You feel like it's a prerequisite with pitchers. It's like, what year does his arm go out for? And he's done for a year.
We haven't seen the Mets give a long-term deal to a pitcher yet. So,
and I feel like with Stearns, I don't think it's gonna.
Yeah, they weren't willing to do it. They weren't willing to do it with DeGrom. Would you be willing to do it with Nola? Like, would you be willing to do it? Like, I don't think that's the pitcher that you give a long-term deal to. I wouldn't give him, like, I feel like he's gonna, there's a possibility that he gets $30 million a year. Yeah, Aaron Nola is definitely somebody that I would try to avoid, but I wouldn't be upset if they got him.